Tonight, the 3-month-long search continues, and this is your #1 source for coverage, The Fox Report with Shepard Smith. Then,
the people are shallow. The American public is shallow.
is he going off the deep end? Dive into political incorrectness with Bill Maher on The O'Reilly Factor. It's the most powerful primetime lineup in sight, only on the Fox News Channel.
Hi, I'm Edie Donahue. Tomorrow on Fox and Friends, how long can Gary Condit rely on support from fellow Democrats? Are the tides turning? We'll take a look. 7 a.m. Eastern.
And together, we can be there for all of our neighbors around the block, around the country, and around the world. I love you, Harlem. Thank you. God bless you. I feel at home. Thank you.
He's moving on up, but on our nickel. Should he and other former presidents have all expenses paid by Uncle Sam? Eric Shawn in Harlem. Eric.
Bill Clinton in Harlem. Big office, big crowd. We'll have the latest. Harry?
Eric, I have another bill on the offensive why Bill Gates is trying to crack a big cable combination. Karen?
Terry, light volume and no news equals down arrows on Wall Street. Brenda?
All that plus Code Red. It's a worm you don't want to meet. Coming up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Todd Connor. The chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee wants to turn the tables on the FBI. Vermont Democrat Patrick Leahy says Congress will take a hands-on approach with the FBI until the agency's problems are fixed. Leahy spoke as his committee opened the confirmation hearing for FBI chief nominee Robert Mueller. Mueller told the panel he would make it his highest priority to restore the public's confidence in the FBI. A Los Angeles school police officer was in a gunfight with an armed teenager today. The officer was hit, but his bulletproof vest saved his life. It's not known if the gunman was wounded. The incident happened in a parking garage near a school. Police are searching for the gunman and a companion. Former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Michael Irvin pleads not guilty to a drug possession charge. Irvin made a brief appearance in a Denton, Texas court today. He was arrested last August in a North Dallas apartment. Irvin denies the drugs were his. Finally, Bill Clinton gets an enthusiastic welcome to the Harlem section of New York City. The former president moved into his new offices today. The penthouse suite in a state-owned office building will cost taxpayers almost $300,000 a year. And those are the latest headlines. We'll have another update coming your way at the bottom of the hour. But coming up next, Your World with Neil Cavuto. Brenda Buttner filling in today for Neil. That's coming your way next.
It's official. Bill Clinton is at home in Harlem. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brenda Buttner, in for Neil Cavuto. Wall Street saw little activity on this final Monday of July, but Bill Clinton was in old form today when he was greeted by throngs of supporters and well-wishers in Harlem at the official opening of his post-presidential offices. Fox News senior correspondent Eric Shawn joins us now from Harlem. Eric.
Well, Brenda, you know, by seeing this rally today, you wouldn't even know a presidential campaign has ended or that Bill Clinton was no longer our chief executive. It was a big welcome mat for Clinton on his first day in which he showed up at his new Harlem office. The rally was held here at the State Office building, just a bit down from where his new office is. And during his appearance here during a rally for about 2 hours, he even belted out the song, "Stand By Me." Quite appropriate choice considering the fact that the Harlem community especially stood by him during all his troubles. The office, of course, the second choice for office space here in New York City. Mr. Clinton had originally wanted that $800,000 space in Midtown. Remember that one next to Carnegie Hall, but he was shamed into getting out of the lease and not signing it because it cost so much. Well, the new office costs about $350,000 a year. That still makes it the most expensive office space for a former president. It's a penthouse on the 14th floor, sweeping views of New York City. Office furniture designed by, ready for this, Madonna's brother. He designs office furniture. Well, during the welcome rally, he even thanked many of the people for supporting him during his impeachment.
You voted for me in 1992 and 1996. You voted for Hillary in 2000. You were there on the darkest days and the best days. And I want you to know I want to be a good neighbor in Harlem on the best days and the dark days for all the people who live here.
Well, Harlem really did support him during his last race in '96. He got 30,000 votes to Bob Dole's 684. Afterwards, it was like old times as he dove into the crowd, trying to shake just about every hand that was here. Mrs. Clinton, the New York senator, his wife, of course, not present. He said that she was in Washington because his mother-in-law, her mother, Dorothy Rodham, underwent surgery today. He also said that his first order of business here, especially tomorrow, would be to begin a national effort to try and raise money to stop the global spread of AIDS. So Bill Clinton back at work, this time not on Pennsylvania Avenue, but 125th Street. We're live in Harlem. Eric Shawn, Fox News. Brenda, back to you.
Hey, Eric, looks like he really misses the campaign trail, huh?
Well, he really did. I mean, I covered him in '92 for 3 months, and it was just the old days when he would talk to everyone, trying to shake every hand. He really was relishing his role. He probably misses it a lot. Then again, he didn't get $125,000 to speak here. I think this was for free, but also was kind of a pep rally for many local politicians. One Democratic candidate who's running for governor was appropriately right at his side, trying to get into the photos. So the area and the world of politics not far behind or far away, even on this homecoming day for the former president.
Never. Okay, thanks so much. Eric Shawn joining us live from Harlem. Well, some aren't so happy about those presidential perks that have taxpayers paying for those offices. Take a look at this. From Ford to Clinton, this is what it costs you to pay for the office space of the living presidents. One caveat, though. President Reagan's lease is up this year, and it will not be renewed. John Bertu is president of the National Taxpayers Union, and he says we just shouldn't pay this. Also joining us is Ellen Ratner, White House correspondent for Talk Radio News and a Fox News analyst. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, Ellen, let me get to you first. By virtue of being an ex-president, Bill Clinton turns away millions of dollars of business. We're almost in the middle of a recession. Why should we be paying for his office space?
Well, we should be paying because we've paid for it for every president, because the presidents still have a lot of papers to go through. This is part of American history. It is also, they get a ton of correspondence. I mean, even Richard Nixon towards the end was getting a ton of correspondence. And they need a presence. They should have a presence. Our American ex-presidents have weighed in. They go to funerals at the behest of our current president, whoever it may be. They do lots of things. They show up at events. They are still very much part of America.
They are part of America, John, but they're not exactly standing in unemployment lines. I mean, ex-President Clinton gets hundreds of thousands of dollars for speeches.
That's right. Yeah, I'm surprised to hear Ellen say that. Liberalism used to be about giving government benefits to people who couldn't help themselves. This is a guy who can make $125,000 a speech. He's given over 40 speeches already this year. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 or $6 million. He's already turned away $65 million worth of business, according to his aides. He, by virtue of being a former president, having that on his resume, this is a guy who can make endless amounts of money, and there's no need for taxpayers to pay for his office space, which he uses in turn to make millions of dollars.
All the more reason, if he's turning away business, he's turning away business because he does not consider it appropriate for him as a former president of the United States. All the more reason why we should legitimize his role as a former ex-president by giving him that money. Listen, today there was a hearing on the Hill that talked about $9 billion in government credit cards. There was a lot of waste. I would rather us talk about our history and what we want our former presidents to be and who they are, and to give them that sense of dignity like Nixon was given, even if it costs us a little bit of money comparatively.
John, it seems to be, she seems to be saying that just because we have done it in the past, we should do it in the future.
Well, we've been consistently in saying we shouldn't do it. When President Reagan got his pension and his office space, we said, especially since he was going over to Japan to make speeches for millions of dollars, that he shouldn't be getting favors from the taxpayers. We say it for Republicans, we say it for Democrats. It's not right, it's not fair to hardworking taxpayers.
Well, listen, we staff their libraries. It's almost as if you want to be anti-intellectual. I mean, these presidents do
not anti-intellectual, but they all
sure it is.
Ellen, we're just talking. This guy has made
speeches that he'll make.
Ellen, he's made $6 million this year. Why should we pay for his office? That's ridiculous. He can easily pay for his office expense,
you know,
just like you pay for your office expense and I pay for mine.
American presidents still often get security reports. I mean, they are still involved in, not directly in our government, they have no power, but they are still involved in a consultative way with the current president. We know that. There is no reason on earth.
We all have roles. It's the democracy.
You know,
everybody has a role. Everyone has a role in democracy, and there's no excuse for giving a guy who's earned tens of millions of dollars for giving him free rent,
$161,000
a year pension. Why is he getting a pension? That's ridiculous.
Because he served this country day and night as every other president has, and there is no reason on earth why somebody who serves this country at much lower rate than they would get if they were running a corporation
now, Ellen,
should not get a pension.
There's no excuse for taxpayers making $25,000 a year to pay taxes to guys making millions of dollars a year.
I'm sorry, that's going to have to be the last word. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And now for a check of the markets, we take you to the Midtown offices of Charles Schwab, where our Karen Gibbs is standing by. Karen?
Hey, Brenda, we didn't have the type of fireworks we wanted on Wall Street today. In fact, the pall of earnings disappointment seems to be hanging over the market. We had three major brokerage house analysts come out and actually lower their expectations for the S&P 500, the performance for the year. In fact, one of them actually says that the S&P 500 is going to be lower at the end of the year. And so quite a little bit of disappointment on Wall Street and a lack of any type of economic news or any serious earnings news. The only bright spot maybe was the news about General Electric's capital arm buying Heller Financial, the Chicago-based commercial financial arm. Looks like that could be very, very good for General Electric and for Heller Financial. Brenda?
Okay, thanks so much. Karen Gibbs will be joining us later in the program as well. Well, straight ahead on this edition of Your World, why is Microsoft afraid of AOL Time Warner getting too big? Senior correspondent Terry Keenan with the lowdown. Terry?
Well, Brenda, Bill Gates is on the offensive again. Up next, a closer look at why Microsoft hopes to derail AOL's cable ambition.
Today's market closing report is brought to you by Charles Schwab. When we created a smarter kind of investment firm, we created a smarter kind of investor.
Yes.
What do you say to investors who are a little frightened of the current market?
Is this a good time to get out?
I've been in this business now for 40 years, and I've seen at least 12 other serious corrections as we're having right now. It's just part of investing. You've got to take the ups with the downs. The important thing is an appropriate diversification within your portfolio. Yes.
What do I do right now?
If you have questions like this, call 1-800-3-SCHWAB today to sign up for our complimentary workshop navigating today's market.
I have type 2 diabetes, and I will always take care of myself. I stick to my regimen. I had to make that commitment to diet and exercise.
But diet and exercise weren't enough.
So my doctor added Avandia to help control my blood sugar.
Unlike some diabetes medications, Avandia helps my body use the natural insulin it already makes.
Avandia has helped keep my blood sugar down for about a year now.
Avandia in combination with insulin may increase the risk of serious heart problems. Because of this, talk to your doctor before using Avandia and insulin together. Avandia may cause fluid retention or swelling, which could lead to or worsen heart failure. Avandia is not for everyone. If you have severe heart failure or active liver disease, Avandia is not recommended. Some people may experience weight gain with Avandia. To check for serious liver problems, blood tests should be conducted before and during Avandia therapy.
This commitment is for me, but it's also for my family.
Eat right, exercise, and if that's not enough, ask your doctor about Avandia.
So it may always be stronger than diabetes.
There's something about Kraft cheese.
Is it me, or is it ironic that Microsoft, of all companies, is afraid of another company becoming too large and powerful? It appears that Bill Gates and company are willing to do whatever it takes to block a potential cable deal between AOL and AT&T. Cash and In's Terry Keenan has the story. Hey, Terry.
Hi there, Brenda. Well, it certainly is ironic, but it is happening. Bill Gates is taking off the gloves again, and this time the target is AOL Time Warner, its main rival in the consumer internet sector. Just days after word leaked out that AOL was eyeing AT&T's cable systems, published reports today say that Microsoft will go to great lengths to make sure that deal doesn't happen. And here's why. For years now, Gates and company have bet big on cable, assuming that it is the strongest link into the digital home. If AOL snatches AT&T broadband, it will have cable dominance, a total of 29 million U.S. homes, or nearly 40% of the cable universe. Microsoft does not want that to happen. and it has a lot of firepower in its arsenal. Not only has Microsoft invested $1 billion in Comcast stock, the main suitor for AT&T broadband, it also has a $5 billion investment in AT&T. No doubt that means AT&T's board will take Mr. Gates' phone calls about this deal. Microsoft is also said to be marshaling AOL rivals in its campaign to keep AOL's cable presence from growing, according to a list of competitors, including Disney and Yahoo. But Microsoft will have to tread lightly. The company is still under the Justice Department Microsoft. The fact that it is taking the offensive against AOL shows just how strong the rivalry between these two tech giants has become. Brenda?
All right, Terry, you stay right there. We're going to bring in our other Fox All-Stars on this, Karen Gibbs, senior business correspondent, and David Asman, host of Forbes on Fox. David, to you first. What do you think of this?
Oh, the irony or the hypocrisy, whichever you want to call it, is just wonderful. I mean, I'm not crazy about the government's going after Microsoft, but for the head of Microsoft, Steve Ballmer, to say, quote, AOL is creating a closed system, accusing the other guy of being the closed system monopolist, is just beautiful. You have to love it.
Karen?
Just goes to show you can't make enemies within such a narrow group. Of course, it is all about the cable, the presentation, and the distribution of e-commerce, information, and entertainment. And it doesn't surprise me at all that Bill Gates and Microsoft would take this type of strategy.
But, you know, Terry, Bill Gates hates to lose. There's no question. But how worried should he actually be? How much of a threat is this?
I think he is pretty worried. And, David, I guess Microsoft knows a closed system when they see it. And, you know, the climate has really changed here. Last week, AOL cut a deal with Compaq Computer to put AOL right on the Compaq computer systems that are going to carry Windows XP this fall. And, you know, if Microsoft's going to grow its business, and it's only been growing around 10% in the last year or so, it has to get into a lot of the businesses that AOL is in now, and it really is its major competitor.
But, you know, the big thing here, I think, of what's going on is it's whether that box that folks are looking at right now is a TV or a computer. We go back to the old debate. We've heard about it. The computer lost out big time because of the dot-com crash, when the dot-com people said, okay, you know, it's going to be seen as a computer and entertainment system. Now it is primarily an entertainment system. Microsoft has to go an extra mile to convince the world that what they're looking at is a computer and not a TV.
You know, Karen, it's interesting because we were just taking a look at AOL and Microsoft stock charts, and both of them have done very well year to date in this kind of a technology environment. What do you make of that?
Oh, I think it's very good because technology is still really at its beginning stages. There's so much potential, and we haven't really used it. The potential, as I mentioned, is so broad that the prices are going to reflect that type of potential. The battle is going to be, of course, over who's going to get that 40% market share, who's going to be able to dictate what we watch and how we entertain ourselves in our living room.
Of course, Terry, Microsoft, Bill Gates could pay for this in cash, the whole thing. Why doesn't he just buy it?
Yeah, I mean, they have $50 billion in cash or cash equivalents, whatever cash equivalents mean, that you can use them to buy AT&T, because that's what the broadband system is going for, about $50 billion. But obviously, given the regulatory environment, I don't think that Microsoft can gobble up a $50 billion acquisition right now.
But these two, David, really are on a collision course, huh?
They are. I would remember we talked in the past about John Malone, the former head of a big cable company who came to be one of the biggest stockholders of AT&T. Sold an awful lot of that stock, but he's still very interested in what happens with AT&T broadband. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow he tries to get back into the picture and gets a piece of this action. I know he's thinking about it if he's actually not doing something.
Yeah, maybe with a little funding from Microsoft, David.
Perhaps. That'd be an interesting alliance.
Could be. All right. Our Fox All-Stars. Thanks so much. Well, straight ahead, you wouldn't believe where some of your tax money is going. We've got a story involving the nation's Defense Department that's going to absolutely have you up in arms after this.
Refinancing your mortgage may be easier than you think. Just log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIX. Today's low fixed rate with 0 points is only 6.990%. With interest rates lower, now may be a great time to get cash or use the equity in your home to consolidate bills. It's smart money from Ditech.com. Apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
surrender to it. I will not stop being me.
I will not let rheumatoid arthritis control my life. I may have RA, but I found a complete information and support program.
RA Access. It's just for people with rheumatoid arthritis. I get updates through videos, mailings, emails.
I'm learning about breakthrough treatments.
I like how it hooks me up with other people with RA. And it's free from Immunex and Wyeth, leaders in RA research.
I will not give RA the power to change me.
I will start fighting back.
If you have rheumatoid arthritis, call RA Access now. 1-800-445-4389. 1-800-445-4389.
I will live the life I dreamed of.
The #1 network for political coverage, covering the deal makers, the debates, and the issues shaping the political landscape.
Simply a matter of negotiating time. He knows he's going to have to budge.
Providing powerful perspective from the Beltway and beyond. Not just politics as usual. The most powerful name in news, Fox News Channel. Powerful debate.
Are you going to be quiet and let me
I'm going to state the truth, and you're going to respond to the truth.
The left versus the right. Hannity and Combs.
Did you know that you were paying for junkets to Puerto Rico, shopping sprees, and even some evenings out at strip clubs? Well, while you were working and paying taxes, some were using Pentagon credit cards to pay for their activities. The story's up next.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All-natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy, increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. Enerx is all natural with no side effects. With Enerx, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. Enerx stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of Enerx now.
Call 1-800-367-7960 toll-free, and it will be delivered discreetly to your home. Get results using the safe, all-natural alternative, Enerx.
Want to know where some of your hard-earned tax money is going? How about places like Hooters and a strip club where a soldier charged more than $3,000 worth of fun on an Army credit card? Or would you like to know about the $13,000 shopping spree an Army reservist's wife went on in Puerto Rico? It's no lie. Our James Rosen's in Washington with the story. James?
Brenda, lawmakers on Capitol Hill today painted the Pentagon as a place where charge is not a battle cry, but the easiest way to misspend the taxpayers' money and get away with it. According to the House Government Reform Committee, 1.8 million credit cards issued to military personnel have resulted in $9 billion in debt. While most of that is legitimate, a lot of it is not. At least 500 credit card fraud cases have come out of the Pentagon in the last 2 years. In one case, a Marine officer and some cardholders he supervised allegedly conspired to make $400,000 worth of illegal purchases. The Bank of America has swallowed $59 million in bad debts run up by our fighting men and women who have been plunking down the plastic on everything from pizza to Palm Pilots, something that attracted the attention of Subcommittee Chairman Steve Horn, Republican of California.
What did they do before they had a Palm Pilot?
They carried a lot of paper.
Are you thinking of a slide rule? Are we still out of that?
Slide rules and paper is what they carried, sir.
But it seems to me you've got to make some tough judgments.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to look into
that. These are little toys for a lot of people, and gee, you know, I'm at such and such a level, and look, I've got a Palm Pilot.
On the whole, government accountants say the credit card program actually saves Uncle Sam more than $1 billion a year by cutting red tape. But two even more extensive investigations of Defense Department spending, which are due this fall, promise to make the Pentagon account more fully for its own runaway credit card accounts. Brenda?
Thanks, James. James Rosen. Well, no one's more up in arms about all of this than our next guest. Joining us now from Capitol Hill is Republican Senator Charles Grassley of Iowa, ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.
Brenda, glad to be with you.
Well, it seems you want a party, you want a new DVD for your house. Hey, just ask Uncle Sam. Is it that bad?
Well, it's very, very bad from the standpoint that the Defense Department signed a contract with Bank of America that doesn't even allow the Bank of America to check into the credit ratings of people before they give a credit card. So right there is a normal business practice in the private sector that the government is throwing to the wind.
Well, the irresponsibility on the part of personnel is pretty astounding. There's one story about a Marine who charged up $20,000, then left the service. Who's left holding the bag?
Well, Bank of America. But on the other hand, if some of this seeks reimbursement, then the taxpayers will be paying for it.
It all comes down to us, ultimately.
Yeah, it does. Listen, it used to be that if you wanted to rob the taxpayers, you had to have a fraudulent invoice in order to get into the federal treasury. Now these credit cards are the keys to the pile of cash.
Now, they handed out cards with no controls. They didn't do credit checks. Has that changed?
No, that's why we're exposing this now with a promise today's hearing that it would be checked and things would be done to correct this. But you know what? Over a long period of time, the major problem, and this is just a small part of it, is the lack of financial management. No accountability, no controls, no responsibility at the Defense Department.
So in the end, who is to blame? Does this go all the way up to the President?
To blame is the Defense Department. The President is Commander-in-Chief. But remember, what we're exposing today started in the previous administration under a Deputy Secretary of Defense by the name of John Hamre.
And in fact, primarily you were talking about that this has happened over the last 2 years.
Yes, but remember the lack of financial management that I'm talking about. I've been on this case for about 8 to 10 years trying to get changes made.
And so how do you expect this to be resolved? How willing are they to change over at the DOD?
Well, the most important thing is to have accountability in the Defense Department, and people have to be fired, heads had to roll, and if they don't roll, then really there's no accountability. You've got a management culture that has to be changed. I'm convinced that Secretary Rumsfeld is committed to doing that based upon his conversations with me, but it's a very major problem, Brenda, and it's not going to be done overnight.
And when do you think it will be resolved?
Well, it's going to be resolved bit by bit, but this specific this specific credit card problem should be resolved within a matter of just a few months, as far as I'm concerned. The overall financial management problem will take a longer period of time.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be watching Senator Charles Grassley of Iowa. Well, up next, earnings. The worst Wall Street has seen in years, but not as bad as they may get. That's the warning from First Call's chief number cruncher. But so what? We've got a guy who says you can still make money in these markets. The stocks and sectors you need to know. Plus, a red threat, and it's not from Russia. It's right here at home, maybe even in your computer. Code Redworm could strike again tomorrow. We'll have all the details up next.
There's something about Kraft cheese.
Other airline credit cards give you 1 mile for every dollar you spend. But only the Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express gives you that. Plus, you'll always get double miles at supermarkets, drugstores, and on Delta tickets. On top of 5,000 bonus miles just for getting the card. Watch how quickly all those extra miles add up to your free vacation travel. We can't say the Delta Sky Miles credit card is twice as good as other airline credit cards, but you might. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES to apply now.
Your typical airline credit card gives you 1 mile for every dollar you spend. But only the Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express gives you that. Plus, you'll always get double miles at gas stations, home improvement stores, and on Delta tickets. On top of 5,000 bonus miles just for getting the card. Watch how quickly all those extra miles add up to your free vacation travel. The Delta Sky Miles credit card. Faster than your typical airline credit card. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES to apply now. Yesterday, allergies took you out of it. Today, Allegra can help bring you back. Only Allegra has fexofenadine for once daily relief for people 12 and older. Side effects include headache, upper respiratory tract infection, and back pain. Call your doctor now for more information. Allegra, enjoy your world.
Tonight, 3 months and still at square one? Get an insider's look at the search with private investigator Terry Lenzner on The Big Story with John Gibson. Then it's $1 billion license to steal. Pentagon credit cards. Who's footing the bill? It sure ain't your Uncle Sam. Details on Special Report. It's the most powerful primetime lineup in sight, only on the Fox News Channel. The search for Chandra. You found your #1 source for the latest findings. Then the DC disser strikes again. Bill Maher lets her rip. Tonight, only on the Fox News Channel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Todd Connor. A nasty virus is poised to relaunch against computers using Microsoft NT and Windows 2000 operating systems. The code red worm causes widespread slowdowns and sporadic outages on the internet. Microsoft offers a free patch to get rid of it. Infected computers are expected to launch another round of code red tomorrow night. Ohio's Medina County Fair opened for business today despite last night's fatal explosion. An antique steam-powered tractor blew up as it was being moved into place. 4 men were killed and about 50 people were hurt. A high-speed crash in North Little Rock, Arkansas ends with a toddler dead and another child is critically injured. It happened last night. The speeding car plowed into the back of another vehicle. Cops who had been chasing the car say the driver appeared to be drunk. 4 Boy Scouts are missing from the National Scout Jamboree in Virginia. They're from Tanzania. The FBI and the State Department both searching for them. It's not clear if they went off sightseeing or are possibly seeking asylum. And comic Paula Poundstone will have to come back to court next month to face child abuse charges. Today, a judge put off setting a preliminary hearing date. Poundstone's lawyer says his client's drinking problem will definitely be a factor in her defense. Those are the latest headlines. We'll have another update at the top of the hour. Up next, Your World continues with Brenda Buttner sitting in for Neil Cavuto. Next.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brenda Buttner in for Neil Cavuto. No big profit news, no big market moves. The Dow Industrial's dropping about 15 points. The Nasdaq slipping more than 11. General Electric dragging the Dow down. Its subsidiary, GE Capital, is buying Heller Financial for $5.3 billion. While GE stock fell more than a point, shares of Heller Financial surged more than 47% on the news. Quite a move there. Investors are hunting for any signs of good news they can find, but they sure aren't seeing much relief in those earnings reports. We've already seen 80% of the companies report this quarter. And the picture, well, it's downright ugly. My next guest says things aren't going to get better for a while. He's Chuck Hill, Director of Research at First Call and a real expert in this field. And in Washington, we've got Knight Kiplinger. He is Editor-in-Chief of the Kiplinger Letter. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, Chuck, to you first. How bad is it going to get?
Well, with 80% in, the die's pretty well cast now that we're going to be down about 17% for the S&P 500 from last year's second quarter. That's obviously a lot worse than the 6.1% decline we had in the first quarter. And as you mentioned, the outlook going forward is not very promising. We're close to having record level warnings again in the third quarter. We're actually running a little bit ahead of the pace at the equivalent time in the record-setting first quarter. And the third quarter
we're looking right now at some of the earnings damage in technology year over year, down 66%. These numbers are pretty amazing.
Right, but the worst may be yet to come. I mean, technology for the third quarter is already down 64% on the estimates. And at the rate it's falling, why, it's going to be a lot worse than that.
You would say we're in a profits recession, no question, Chuck?
Oh, no question. I mean, 2 quarters of down earnings are a profits recession. We've already had that, and we've got 2 more coming up. The third and fourth quarters will be down for sure.
But don't we have a lot going for us tonight? I mean, we've got falling energy prices, falling interest rates. Is this just the darkness before the dawn?
I think Chuck has given us a very accurate picture of the aggregate macro situation. But one of the hallmarks of this economy is its amazing unevenness. At the Kiplinger Letter, we hear each week from people in certain fields who are having the best year in their company's history. The reason that the economy is not actually contracting, the reason that it continues to grow, albeit anemically, is that certain sectors are having a very good year. Let me name a few of them. Home building, heavy construction, whether roads or bridges or interstate interchanges, pharmaceuticals, energy, the banking industry, not financial services broadly, certainly not brokerage and venture capital, but banking having a very good year. The food industry, we had very strong earnings last couple of weeks from Coca-Cola, from Philip Morris, which is a food as well as cigarette company. So for investors and for economic forecasters, it's important to see who is doing well enough to keep this economy growing rather than contracting.
And in fact, Chuck, you say there are some bright spots out there and some sectors in Q3 that might be good bets.
Well, right. I mean, the three sectors that have been doing well for the last several quarters are energy, healthcare, and utilities. Healthcare and utilities will probably continue forward to do well. Energy is going to be a drag on earnings in the third and fourth quarter based on the analysts' current estimates. Now, there are also some industries in some of the other sectors that are doing well, as Knight mentioned, like home builders and so forth. So there are some pockets out there where things have been and are likely to continue to be good for a while.
Now, doesn't this all depend, though, on the consumer? If the consumer throws in the towel and stops spending, and there are signs that we may stop doing that, where do we go?
Brenda, that's a very good point. I think unemployment is going to continue to rise through this year, even after growth picks up in the fourth quarter. I wouldn't be surprised to see 5% unemployment by year end. That's going to spook not just the people losing their jobs, but their friends and their neighbors and other people in their workplace. But let's look at the four legs of this table, the U.S. economy. You've got business spending, which we know is very weak, consumer spending holding up okay, exports okay, but our trading partners are struggling a bit, so that's not going to be a star. Then there's government spending. Congress is shoveling money out the door. Government spending is going to rise.
Yeah, we know where some of it's going.
Yeah, 8% over the next year or so. That's why defense and aerospace, road building, heavy construction, school building, libraries, all of that is very strong for the next year or two. So we're putting a lot of reliance on the consumer, a lot of reliance on government spending. Whether the government spending increase is wise in the long run is going to be stimulative over the next year.
Chuck, very quickly, when are we out of this? Everybody's talking now about next year at the earliest.
Well, I think the first quarter of next year is the first time we could see a meaningful upturn. But we probably won't know until late September, early October, whether that'll happen or whether we'll again push it back another quarter, as we've done for several quarters now.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We had Chuck Hill and Knight Kiplinger. Appreciate your insights. And directly ahead, we'll get very specific about stocks with our market pros, Larry Wachtel and David Tice. Join me after the break. Stick around.
Market data provided by Bridge Information System.
Can I get life insurance at my age, in my health?
I'd like to leave my loved ones with a little something when I'm gone, but I'm afraid I'm too old to get life insurance.
If you're like these nice folks and thought life insurance after 45 was impossible to get or impossible to afford, I've got good news. If you're 45 to 79, Physicians Life guarantees you up to $10,000 of permanent modified whole life insurance, designed to help your family with the expenses they will face. There's no medical exam, no health questions. You can buy this policy if you're 45 to 79 and you're insured for life. Just $1 pays for your first month of protection. After that, you can continue at an affordable monthly renewal rate that can never go up. Plus, your coverage can never be canceled no matter what your age or health. Easy to get and easy to afford. Now let me tell you why this protection is so important. All of us someday will leave behind expenses for our loved ones to pay. There's no escaping it. Those expenses can easily add up to thousands of dollars. You know, some people even expect the government to take care of these expenses. But the fact is, Social Security pays a death benefit of just $255, and only if you qualify. That's why I urge you to take a look at this plan. It's one sure and affordable way you can help leave your loved ones with dollars instead of debts. For all the details, just call the toll-free number to get this free information kit from Physicians Life. You get it directly by mail. There's no cost or obligation of any kind. You're just calling for information. This is one phone call your loved ones will be thankful for later. So call right now.
We're here when you need us. Physicians Life.
Topping our Fox stocks, Lincoln National picking up more than 1.5 points. It's selling its reinsurance business to Swiss Re for $2 billion. Shares of drug company Averon sliding more than 13 points. The company's flu vaccine getting the thumbs down from an FDA panel. IVAX plunging more than 5 points. The stock downgraded after news some fresh competition is now in the market for its generic cancer drug. Adobe Systems dropping 2.5 points. The company expects its third quarter profits to be in line with estimates, but says that sales will fall short as a result of the slow economy. And while the economy has a lot of retailers in a rut, Tommy Hilfiger seems to be doing, well, okay. The apparel maker picking up nearly 7% on the day. Tommy Hilfiger beating the street by 2 cents a share in its first quarter. While the company says its bottom line may fall a little short next time around, it says everything's shaping up nicely for its full year report. And for more on today's market action, we've got Larry Wachtel, market analyst at Prudential Securities, and from Dallas, David Tice, portfolio manager at the Prudent Bear Fund. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Well, Larry, what do you make of today's action?
Well, it was a Monday in July. What can I tell you?
Nothing else need be said, huh? But are we going to pick up at all through the summer? I mean, we're waiting for this summer rally.
It's hard really to conjure up what could pick it up. I mean, maybe just exhaustion on the downside. We do have these temporary flurries. I can't think of a catalyst that would turn the tide, that would turn psychology to the upside.
David, I imagine you agree with that, huh?
Well, we're still very bearish, Brenda. We believe that the consensus has shifted from a second half recovery to a 2002 recovery. And it looks like earnings are falling at a 17% clip, as Chuck Hill mentioned. Earnings are going to be down this year for the S&P, yet we're still selling at 26 times earnings. So it's still a very, very expensive stock market.
Larry, the Fed is moving very aggressively. This is very dramatic action, but nothing's happening in the market or the economy.
Well, that's because the target right now is hoped to be the industrial side. Remember, when the Fed works, and it works well, it works in an economy where the recession is a consumer recession, a housing recession. So lower rates impact immediately.
And we haven't had that so much.
This is a manufacturing recession. You could take the rates down to zero and the overhang of inventories would still be there. Time has to work that off.
David, where are you making money in this market? Are you just shorting stocks or?
Well, we are shorting stocks. We're long a few stocks. We also like gold stocks in here. Gold has been pretty flat for the metal, but a number of senior and junior gold mining stocks have done very, very well.
And in particular, you like?
We like ASA Limited, which is a closed-end fund that owns a number of very solid gold mining companies. You can buy it on a closed-end basis at about a 18 to 20% discount to net asset value. Then we also like Harmony Gold, that's one of the best managed South African companies.
And you're shorting the cube, is that right?
Right. The QQQs are essentially the index that you can short, which is...
That's the NASDAQ 100.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Larry, what about you? You don't have to go to gold stocks, do you, to make money? You like Pfizer.
I'm a little bit more venturesome. First of all, on a more conservative basis, I think the pharmaceuticals are attractive. I think the risk-reward is attractive, particularly a stock like Pfizer, which is traded between 37 and 45 for around 6 months. It's now around $40. I like that. More venturesome, admittedly, I see some improvement in the cell phone area. I want to buy a supplier to that area. That would be Texas Instruments.
You're about the only one who sees some improvement there. That's the chip sector and cell phones. Boy, that's a pretty dramatic combination.
I don't know, recent comments from Nokia, recent comments from Ericsson and Motorola have been a little bit forthcoming. And finally, if the checks are in the mail, I want to own Target stores.
Target. Well, that makes sense because of the tax rebate checks you're talking about. People go out and actually spend them. David, that is a point. People do have money in their pockets. Isn't that going to help our economy and the stock market?
Well, what's happened, Brenda, is we've had this refinancing boom, and the consumer has kept this economy alive after the NASDAQ crash last year. The refinancing index was up about 500%. but long rates have not really declined. And we think housing is a very volatile, dangerous area to continue to count because incomes are declining and default rates are picking up dramatically.
Larry, what about besides falling interest rates, we've got falling energy prices as well. Isn't that a positive?
Oh, certainly. I mean, you know, when you total up the potential of the falling rates, the falling taxes, and the falling energy, you have the wherewithal to improve sometime in the second half. You just don't know when. Now, I know it's a promise that hasn't been kept up to now.
You're supposed to tell us when. That's your job.
November 22.
Thank you very much. David, what would it take to make you a bull? What do you need to see?
Unfortunately, it's going to take a lot lower stock prices, Brenda. This is the end of a bubble, and the end of a bubble, unfortunately, ends in a great deal of pain, and we think that we'll have to have 3 or 4 years.
Haven't we already had enough pain?
No,
the Nasdaq's down some 60%.
We really haven't. You know, I know there's been a great deal of pain for people, but if you look at the top 40 companies in the Nasdaq are still selling at 8 times sales. So stocks are still very expensive. Earnings are falling faster than prices.
So where do you see the Nasdaq by year end?
We think the Nasdaq could easily fall below 1,000.
Wow, cut in half. All right, Larry, you?
Well, I'm not that. I mean, I think the Nasdaq will move higher toward year end, but not much higher from here. 2,300, 2,400.
All right, Larry Wachtel and David Tice, appreciate it. Well, beware of the worm. And no, I'm not talking about tequila. And no, I don't write this. I'm talking about a computer virus called Code Red that's set to strike Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll tell you what it is and how to avoid it next.
Refinancing your mortgage may be easier than you think. Just log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIX. Today's low fixed rate with 0 points is only 6.990%. With interest rates lower, now may be a great time to get cash or use the equity in your home to consolidate bills. It's smart money from Ditech.com. Apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
There's something about Kraft cheese.
Corporations, the White House, the Pentagon, and countless others have taken precautions to avoid the worm. If you use a computer, listen up. Code Red is back and set to strike on Tuesday night. What it is and how to avoid it, next.
Painting a room is easy. All the work is in the edging, and the edges are everywhere. Meet EdgeMaster, the self-guided rolling edger. With EdgeMaster, you can paint every edge effortlessly because EdgeMaster's beveled edge self-guides as you paint. Just load the roller, flip the bevel in place, and EdgeMaster guides itself to paint door and window molding, light switches, thermostats, and walls and ceilings. Straight edge or round, EdgeMaster does it all. With the EdgeMaster, you'll get a precision edge every time. We guarantee you can paint any room in 1 hour or we'll buy it back. Use it once and you'll never use anything else again. Through this special offer, we'll send you the EdgeMaster, 2 EdgeMaster rollers, painting guide, and tray for only $19.99. Plus, call right now and we'll triple the number of rollers. A $20 value free. You'll get the entire EdgeMaster painting system and 6 rollers, a $40 value, all for just $19.99. Here's how to order.
To order EdgeMaster, call 1-800-408-9889. That's 1-800-408-9889. So call and order today.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy, increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. EnerX is all natural with no side effects. With EnerX, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. EnerX stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of EnerX now.
Call 1-800-367-7960 toll-free, and it will be delivered discreetly to your home. Get results using the safe, all-natural alternative, EnerX.
Code Red. Have you heard about it? It's a computer virus that's already affected some 250,000 computers, and it's set to strike again. Fox News' Mike Emanuel joins me now from Washington with the story. Hey, Mike.
Well, hi, Brenda. Code Red exploits a flaw found in Windows NT and Windows 2000 operating systems. Experts say it is dangerous and about to attack again.
Business and government officials are warning computer users of the Code Red worm. Experts say Code Red poses a threat to the internet, causing widespread slowdowns and some outages.
There is reason for concern that the mass traffic associated with the worm's propagation could degrade the overall functioning of the internet and impact ordinary users.
In other words, it could disrupt personal and business use of the internet. Investigators say in the first 9 hours of the Code Red outbreak earlier this month, it infected more than 250,000 computers. Now their concern is the worm is mutated and could spread faster.
A small number of users who are infected with the Code Red worm can infect thousands or indeed millions of others, vulnerable users, even 1,000 miles away.
Infected websites will show the message hacked by Chinese. So far, experts don't know who created this vicious computer worm. At this point, they just want to stop it.
The Code Red worm has infected hundreds of thousands of systems worldwide. The worm scans the internet, identifies vulnerable systems, and infects these systems by installing itself.
If you're using Windows 95, 98, or Windows ME, Microsoft says you don't have to worry. If you use Windows NT and Windows 2000, then Microsoft is offering a free patch to protect your computer. For more information on the subject, please check out foxnews.com. Brenda, back to you.
All right, Mike Emanuel joining us from D.C. So the question is, what can you do to protect yourself? Joining me now from Washington is Eric Baumgartner. He is vice president at Okina, a private company that specializes in computer security. So what do you do? How do you prevent this?
You get the patch, Brenda. You need to have that in place as soon as you can get it.
What happens if you don't have it?
Then you'll most likely be a target to pass the worm on to other machines on the internet.
And what does it do to your computer?
If you're running, this worm is targeted at Microsoft web servers. So if you're a Microsoft web servers, it will deface your system.
What does that mean, deface your system?
Web graffiti. Change some of the appearance of your system. And then we'll also, at a preset time, wake itself up and try to start a denial of service attack against the White House website.
You know, that's interesting. It sounds kind of political in nature. It's to knock out the web server at the White House. But we don't know who's to blame?
Yeah, the fact of the matter is we don't know who it is to blame. It could be anybody from Script Kiddie to somebody with political aspirations. We just don't know.
It is a new breed of virus, however. Is that correct?
Well, yes, it is. And this type of virus represents our worst nightmare, and that's the unknown attack. The technologies that we have in place today do a very good job of stopping things that we know about. But a virus like this that has the ability to mutate easily defeats those kinds of technologies, and we need to get better at developing proactive and preventative technologies.
How big could this be then? We've had 250,000 cases so far. How big could it get?
That's a very good question. Theoretically, as big as the internet. I think what scares people about this worm is how fast it was able to propagate, over 300,000 plus systems in 14 hours. That doesn't give us enough time in industry to understand what the problem is and get a fix out.
What about national security? Is that an issue here?
I don't believe so. Our national security systems are very well defended, but there is the internet's used for so many other things: electronic commerce, consumer business actions, and business actions that the overall integrity of the internet is certainly at risk.
How can we not know or start to track down who is responsible for this? I mean, we have very sophisticated computer experts on our end working for the good side. Why can't we find out who's to blame?
The World Wide Web is just that. It's a web of thousands and tens of thousands of systems. It's pretty easy to mask where you're coming from. I think the approach that really scales is to take a preventative approach and focus on the behavior of systems and enforcing that proper behavior, as opposed to trying to figure out all the ways that somebody's going to attack you.
And if somebody gets caught, what happens?
We prosecute them.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the offense would be?
There's a variety of different offenses. It can come under a Privacy Act. It can come under espionage. The FBI gets involved and they make the determination.
Okay, now you do have me worried about my own personal computer. Is there any way for me to tell if the virus is on the computer already?
If you have an antiviral package, first of all, you have to be running Windows NT or Windows NT 2000 as the operating system. As the intro said, if you're running Windows 98, Millennium Edition, those versions, it's not an issue.
Right.
If you are running NT or 2000, go to Microsoft and you're running the web server software, go to Microsoft and download the patch and you should be fine.
So bottom line, you got to get this patch, and that will protect you.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Eric Baumgartner joining us, VP of Sales from Okina. And tomorrow, the House will be debating legislation on human cloning. Do you think that humans should be cloned? I'll talk to a UCLA scientist who says yes. Ross Perot Jr. will be here on his company's earnings, and he's got some of the hottest and unique hotels in the nation. Ian Schrager will join me tomorrow to talk about his latest hotel in San Francisco. Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. Write to us at Your World. Drop us an email. The address is cavuto@foxnews.com or U.S. Mail, Fox News. We're on the concourse level, 1211 Avenue of the Americas, New York, 10036. But coming up next, you take John Gibson, you throw in the news of the day, and you have got the big story. It's coming up next. Very exciting new show for Fox. We love John Gibson. You're going to love the big story. That's coming up right after this. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'll be back tomorrow.